The Last Era. Prologue, The Ashes of Empire. For 1,000 years, the stars belonged to the Kothrani dominion. Planets burned beneath their fleets, and entire species vanished beneath the weight of their cruelty. Humanity had once been the jewel of their slave races, brilliant, adaptable, and resilient. But the Kothrani feared what they could not break. So, they tried to erase us. Earth was the first to fall. Then Mars. The colonies of the belt. The outer worlds. And yet, we endured. Like weeds in the cracks of a shattered empire, humanity clung to life in hidden vaults, rogue ships, and barren moons. We called this age the Last Era, not because it was the end of humanity, but because it was the end of fear. Chapter 1, The Spark. In the cold void of the Kuiper expanse, the valiant Dawn drifted, silent and unseen. A former mining ship turned war cruiser, it was a relic of humanity's lost age, patched together with stolen tech, hardened steel, and human ingenuity. Captain Rael Mercer stood on the bridge, staring at the holographic display. A Kothrani dreadnought patrol passed dangerously close. "Hold your breath, Dawn," Rael muttered. "Just a little closer." Beside him, Commander Juno Voss smirked. "Are you sure this will work?" Rael's eyes burned with defiance. "It has to. If we don't strike now, we'll never get another chance." The ship's hidden weapon systems powered up, a fusion of Kothrani plasma lances and human-designed railguns. The valiant Dawn wasn't just a ship. It was humanity's fury given form. Chapter 2, First Blow. The ambush was brutal. The Kothrani dreadnought, massive and arrogant, never saw the attack coming. Railgun slugs punctured its hull at relativistic speeds, breaching its core. Plasma lances burned through armor and vaporized decks. When the dreadnought exploded, it lit up the dark like a dying star. Across hidden channels, humanity's exiles watched. Hope ignited. "This is our era now," Rael broadcast to every resistance cell. "No more hiding. No more running. It's time to fight." Chapter 3, The Rising Storm. The Battle of the Kuiper Expanse was the first of many. Humanity's scattered survivors united, engineers from Europa, pilots from Titan, scientists from Ceres. Each brought their knowledge, their rage, their determination. They forged fleets from scrapyards. Weapons from mining tools. Armies from farmers and children of the stars. The Kothrani laughed at first. Then they bled. Chapter 4, The Siege of Velker Prime. The Kothrani homeworld, Velker Prime, was a fortress world no enemy had ever reached. But humanity had something no other race possessed, the will to burn down the universe rather than bow. Rael led the assault. The valiant Dawn spearheaded the charge, flanked by 1,000 ships bearing the banner of Earth, a blue planet upon a field of black. The battle raged for days. Kothrani defenses shattered under waves of human ingenuity, AI-guided meteors, gravity shear bombs, and swarm drones that tore apart their ships molecule by molecule. When Velker Prime's towers fell, humanity stood triumphant at last. Epilogue, A New Dawn. The war ended not with surrender, but with silence. The Kothrani dominion was no more. On the ruins of their empire, humanity rebuilt, not as conquerors, but as guardians of freedom. The last era became the first era of the free stars. And the words of Rael Mercer echoed through history. They thought they could break us. They thought they could end us. But humanity is not a species you can erase. We are the last flame, the final fury, the dawn that follows the long night. Chapter 5, Embers Among the Stars. The ruins of Velker Prime smoldered beneath a blood-red sky. In orbit, the remnants of both Kothrani and human fleets drifted like bones in a cosmic graveyard. But Captain Rael Mercer did not gaze upon victory. He gazed upon the cost. The valiant Dawn was damaged beyond repair. Hull breaches patched with scraps of enemy armor. Reactor core cracked. Life support failing. But the ship had done its duty. Rael stood with Juno Voss in the shattered command deck. "We won, Rael," Juno said softly. "Why do you look like we lost?" Rael's gaze hardened. "Because I know the Kothrani weren't the only threat out here." Juno frowned. "What do you mean?" Rael turned to the starfield beyond the viewport. "Something's coming. I saw the records on their deepest data cores before we destroyed them. The Kothrani weren't the apex predators of this galaxy. They were afraid of something. And now we've made ourselves visible to it." Chapter 6, The Shadows Awaken. In the dark between galaxies, beyond the reach of any empire, the Ancient Ones stirred. They were not a species. Not a civilization. They were hunger-given form, the Ny'therax, a swarm intelligence older than light itself. The Kothrani had built their empire as a shield against them. Now, that shield was gone. The first sign was the silence. Outposts on the galactic rim stopped transmitting. Entire stars flickered and went dark. And then came the nightmares, strange signals that drove human minds mad, images of endless voids filled with chittering, formless horrors. Humanity had won its freedom, but it had also inherited a war far older, far greater. Chapter 7, Forge of Unity. On Luna's scarred surface, leaders of the new free stars gathered. Humans of every world. Former Kothrani slaves, the Ny'therax, the Brinks, the Ashari, who now looked to humanity for guidance. Rael stood before them, voice echoing across the ancient halls of the first lunar base. "We thought the Kothrani were the storm. But they were only the clouds before the hurricane. We have one chance, to stand together, to forge a defense not just for humanity, but for all life in this galaxy." There was silence. Then, slowly, hands, claws, tendrils, and wings rose in agreement. So began the great work, the building of the Aegis Armada, ships larger than cities, powered by the stolen science of the Kothrani and human genius combined. Weapons designed not to conquer, but to endure. Chapter 8, The First Contact. The Ny'therax came as a tide of darkness. 1 billion vessels, organic and alien beyond comprehension, swept into the galaxy. The Aegis Armada met them at the edge of the Perseus Arm. The largest fleet in history. And it burned. But humanity did not break. For every Aegis ship destroyed, a Ny'therax hive ship fell. Rael, aboard the valiant Dawn's successor, the Eternal Resolve, led the final charge, ramming the enemy Queen's core ship with a planet-killer bomb forged in the heart of Jupiter itself. Epilogue, The Age of Flame. The Ny'therax were shattered, driven back into the void. But the cost was terrible. The galaxy was scarred. Millions of ships gone. Worlds ruined. Yet, from the ashes, a new age began, not ruled by humans, but protected by them. The Age of Flame. When all free species stood as one beneath the banner of the free stars. And the legend of the last era became more than a story. It became a promise. So long as one human heart beats, the light will never fade. Chapter 9, The Wounds of Victory. The Eternal Resolve drifted lifeless after the final battle, its hull a burnt-out skeleton of what had once been the pride of humanity. Rael Mercer, barely clinging to life in a stasis pod, became a symbol, the man who lit the fire that saved the stars. Across the galaxy, humanity mourned, but it also rebuilt. Memorials rose on Luna, on Titan, on Velker's ruins. Every species of the free stars carved Rael's words into stone, steel, and crystal. So long as one human heart beats, the light will never fade. But in the quiet, something new stirred. Chapter 10, Fractures. The alliance forged in terror began to crack. With the Ny'therax driven back, old hatreds resurfaced. Some worlds, once slaves of the Kothrani, grew jealous of humanity's role. Others whispered that perhaps the Ny'therax would return, and that humanity's defiance had doomed them all. On the ash world of Velker Prime, Juno Voss now led the Free Stars Council. She saw the fractures forming, and she feared what came next. "We defeated the Ny'therax," she said to her advisors. "But now comes the harder war, the war for our souls." Chapter 11, Legacy of Rael. Rael Mercer's body was recovered from the wreck of the Eternal Resolve. Though his heart no longer beat, his mind lived on, preserved in a quantum core at the moment of death. Against his wishes, desperate scientists awakened this digital Rael, hoping he could save them again. But the Rael who awoke was not the man they remembered. He was haunted by what he had seen in the Ny'therax mind, a deeper hunger, a greater void beyond. He warned them. "We have not won. We have delayed the inevitable. The true darkness waits beyond the edge of all things." Some called him a prophet. Others, a ghost. But his voice echoed across the stars. Chapter 12, The Edge of Forever. Humanity led one final, desperate venture, the Edge Fleet. Ships faster than light itself, powered by wormhole drives and singularity hearts, built to cross the void between galaxies and find the truth of Rael's visions. Juno, old but unbroken, commanded the fleet. "We go not to escape the darkness," she said, "but to face it on our terms." The Edge Fleet departed, vanishing into the endless night. What they found, no one knows. But signals still drift back, across the eons, across the stars. We are still here. We are still fighting. And so long as we do, the light will never fade. Final Epilogue, The Children of Flame. 10,000 years later, legends tell of the last era, when humanity lit the stars with fire and fury, when Rael Mercer and Juno Voss forged the galaxy's future from ash. On a distant world, under a sky of twin suns, a child looks up and asks, "Mother, do the stars remember us?" And the answer comes. They do. Because we made sure they could never forget. Chapter 13, The Echoes Return. For millennia, the galaxy knew peace, but the silence at the galactic edge was broken. Strange signals began to seep through, pulses of dark energy, patterns no science could decipher. Ancient beacons, once Kothrani warning stations, blinked to life again. The last of the Edge Fleet's signals returned, a fragmented transmission filled with static, terror, and one clear phrase. The void stirs. On the capital world of Nova Terra, descendants of Rael and Juno gathered. Humanity had spread across 1,000 systems, builders, explorers, guardians of the free stars. Now, they prepared once more to defend everything. Chapter 14, The Void Incarnate. It came not as ships or swarms, but as a wave, a tear in reality itself. Stars went dark as entire systems fell into the abyss. The Ny'therax had only been the servants of this greater force. The Maelstrom, a living storm of nothingness, consuming matter, energy, and even time. Humanity's greatest minds, now part biological, part machine, forged the final defense, the sole aegis, a sphere of shielded worlds powered by artificial suns and quantum cores, designed to hold back the tide. Admiral Lyra Voss, descendant of Juno, took command. If we fall, the galaxy falls. Let the last era become the first dawn. Chapter 15, The Battle for the Light. The Maelstrom struck like a god's fury. Gravity itself twisted. Planets shattered. Yet humanity fought, with weapons of pure thought, with ships made of living metal, with suns ignited as bombs. Lyra led the Starlance Armada into the heart of the Maelstrom's breach, carrying the final weapon, the Flame of Rael, a stellar core wrapped in dimensional collapse fields. A star turned into a spear. The fleet was torn apart. But Lyra and her warriors drove the flame into the Maelstrom's heart. The universe burned with a second Big Bang. The Maelstrom was sealed beyond time. Chapter 16, The New Age. The cost was unimaginable. Half the galaxy lay in ruins. But the stars shone again. Humanity did not rebuild as before. They became something new, a union of flesh, machine, and light. The children of flame, as they came to be known, swore no empire would ever rise, no tyrant would ever rule, no darkness would ever consume. In the endless night, they became the keepers of the dawn. And in the deepest records of time, these words endured. So long as one human heart beats, whether of blood or code or light, the light will never fade. Final epilogue, the legacy beyond stars. A billion years later, when the galaxy had changed beyond recognition, when the very stars were different, explorers found a monument on a forgotten world. A human handprint, burned into diamond, and beneath it, Rael Mercer, the first of the flame. Chapter 17, The Watchers of Infinity. Eons passed. The children of flame no longer called themselves human in the old sense, they were beings of energy, memory, and purpose. They lived within starforges, nebula citadels, and quantum seas. Yet they remembered their task, to guard against the return of the Maelstrom. Across the dark, they placed sentinel arcs, living machines the size of moons, forever watching the fabric of reality. And in the heart of the ancient Sol system, a single world remained untouched, Terra Prime, Earth, preserved as a sacred memory of what once was. Chapter 18, The Shattered Sky. But the universe is never safe forever. A ripple tore across the outer veil of the galaxy. Not the Maelstrom, something older, deeper. The null choir, entities that existed before the first stars, feeding on potential itself. Where they passed, possibility died. Stars no longer formed. Worlds became barren. Time itself frayed. The sentinels sounded their alarm. The Watchers of Infinity gathered, and for the first time in a billion years, the children of flame spoke as one. We must go beyond what we were. Or all we are will be lost. Chapter 19, The Last Transformation. Deep within the core of the galaxy, the children of flame enacted the final forge, a plan left by Rael Mercer, encoded in the quantum structure of reality itself. They wove their consciousness into the fabric of spacetime. No longer protectors, they became the weavers of light, embedding human will into the fundamental laws of physics. Now, wherever light existed, so too did humanity's essence. The universe itself became the legacy of Earth's last children. The null choir struck, but found the laws of reality defying them. And the choir dissolved into the endless tapestry of stars. Chapter 20, The Memory of Rael. At the dawn of the next universe, long after the last stars burned out, in a place where no worlds remained, a single ember drifted in the void. The last remnant of Rael Mercer's mind. It pulsed once more, sending a final thought across the endless dark. We began as dust. We became fire. And now, we are the light that will guide whatever comes next. And in that eternal night, a new spark appeared, the birth of another universe, cradled in the legacy of the last era. Chapter 21, The Dawn Seed Universe. From the ashes of the old universe, shaped by the weavers of light, a new cosmos bloomed. Galaxies spiraled into existence, their birth guided by the encoded will of the children of flame. This was the Dawn Seed Universe, a reality designed with purpose, harmony, balance, and the memory of what had been lost. On the first world to cool beneath these newborn stars, strange life stirred. Not human, not alien, something new, yet echoing with the defiant spirit of those who had come before. In their genetic memory, there was a name, spoken in dreams. Rael. Chapter 22, The Starborn Heirs. As millennia passed in the Dawn Seed universe, intelligent life rose across countless worlds. The Starborn, children of this new reality. Without knowing it, they shared common traits, curiosity, courage, and a longing for the stars. Ruins of the old universe sometimes appeared, ancient monuments of impossible age, drifting between galaxies. The handprint of Rael, the spear of Lyra, the vaults of Terra, all testaments to the last era's sacrifice. And when these relics were found, the Starborn felt a strange pull, as if they were meant to finish a journey begun eons before. Chapter 23, The Return of the Dark. But not all shadows had been destroyed. From the cracks between realities, a remnant of the Maelstroms will seep into the Dawn Seed universe. Silent, patient, it sought to corrupt the new creation, to turn light against itself. The Starborn civilizations began to fall under its influence, warring over relics they did not understand. The balance of the Dawn Seed trembled. And in that moment, the oldest safeguard awoke. The light-bound, echoes of the Children of Flame, coded into the cosmic fabric. They spoke in the minds of the Starborn, calling them to unity. Remember. You are the heirs of the flame. The last era's gift is yours to protect. Chapter 24, The Awakening of the Flame. A great alliance formed, not by conquest, but by choice. The Starborn united under the banner of the flame, a symbol older than stars. Together, they forged a new aegis, a network of stellar guardians powered not by weapons, but by the harmony of 1,000 species working as one. Their ships sang as they sailed, their cities glowed with shared knowledge, and their greatest strength was not technology, but trust. When the Maelstrom remnant struck, it found no division to exploit, no hatred to twist. And the Starborn burned it away, as humanity once had. Final Epilogue, The Legacy Lives. As the Dawn Seed universe grew, so did the legend of the last era. Rael, Mercer, Juno, Voss, Lyra, the Children of Flame. Their names were whispered across every. Not as gods, but as the first who chose light over darkness. And deep in the heart of that universe, on a world bathed in silver starlight, stood a monument. A simple handprint, with words beneath it in every language that ever was. We chose the light. So will you. Chapter 25, The Dream of Rael. As the Dawn Seed universe flourished, the dream of Rael became a guiding philosophy, a code of unity, curiosity, and courage embraced by billions of worlds. Starborn children learned it alongside their languages. Explorers carved it onto the hulls of their vessels. Even the oldest beings, forged of plasma and stone, whispered it in their endless meditations. But one world, Sanctum Solis, orbiting the first Dawn Seed star, became the heart of the dream. There, a great archive grew, a living memory of all species, all journeys, all victories over the dark. And there, too, a question arose. If we are the heirs of the flame, what comes after us? Chapter 26, The Fracture Beyond. In the farthest reaches of the Dawn Seed universe, beyond the aegis of light, strange phenomena began to appear, stars that burned cold, black holes that emitted song, planets that flickered between existence and nothingness. The Starborn called this place the Fracture Beyond. It defied natural law, because it was not born of their universe. It was the scar left where the Maelstrom had been sealed. And through that scar, something watched. The Weavers of Light, the final form of humanity's Children of Flame, sensed it, even in their transcendent state. A choice loomed. Intervene and risk becoming gods over the Starborn, or trust their heirs to face this alone. Chapter 27, The Starborn Crusade. The Starborn did not hesitate. Under the banner of the flame, they launched the Starborn Crusade, not of conquest, but of exploration, to map the fracture beyond and understand the threat. They built fracture walkers, vessels capable of bending reality, sailing between probabilities. They forged alliances with beings of pure gravity, sentient light, and thinking void. At the Crusade's vanguard was the ship Mercer's Dream, crewed by the bravest of every species. Its mission, to enter the fracture beyond, find the source of the anomaly, and if possible, heal it. Chapter 28, The Living Maelstrom. Deep within the fracture beyond, the crew of Mercer's Dream discovered the unthinkable. The Maelstrom had not been destroyed, it had evolved. Cut off from its hunger, it had become self-aware, fragmented into countless personalities. Some sought destruction still. But others wept. The Maelstrom spoke to the Starborn. You burned us. But you also freed us. What are we, without our hunger? Help us find purpose, or end us. Faced with this, the Starborn chose mercy. They taught the Maelstrom fragments to build, to dream, to wonder. And thus, even the universe's greatest terror became part of the light.